Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Las Vegas. Just my mic here. All right, we've now been joined by Kyle Larson, driver of the number 42 Credit One Bank Chevrolet. And Kyle, you finished second here last year at this particular race. So just talk a little bit about how your team plans to approach this weekend and obviously what your hopes are come Sunday.
Yeah, we had a good run here last year. I think we finished second in both races, Xfinity and Cup, which is better than I typically had run at Vegas. So I was happy about that. But we were pretty good most everywhere last year, and we tested here a couple weeks before Daytona, and we're really fast. It was our first time with the new Camaro ZL1, so was happy about that. And I'm sure we're back here with about the same setup as we ended the test with. So we had a good run there, and just kind of wait and see how it goes. Excited about it. Atlanta's a unique mile and a half. You get somewhat of an idea of who's fast, but I feel like once you get here and through the rest of the West Coast swing, you get a really good sense of who's going to be good all year long.
All right, we will take questions for Kyle. If you have one, please raise your hand, and we'll start with Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. Kyle, so you mentioned the test, and you laid down a lap, especially there at the end, that was way faster than everybody else. So are you more confident than you would be coming into a normal weekend just based on what you've seen already?
Yeah, probably. You're just thinking back to last year, we really had no idea we were going to be as fast as we were. Where this year, after having the test and after having the year we had last year, that really helps your confidence. So, we know coming here this weekend that we'll be fast or should hopefully be fast, but you just still have to execute. But, we had a really, really good test. We made the car better throughout the 2 days, and, our race trim runs were really good, and then our mock qualifying run we made there at the end was fast as well. So, we'll stick to qualifying trim all day today, which is nice, having you're going to have a good balance in race trim, so you can just work on qualifying trim today and try and qualify as good as you can for later tonight. So excited to get on track, and hopefully it all feels the same. A lot of times when you test, though, for some reason it can feel totally different when you come back for the race, just a few weeks later. So hopefully that's not the case today, and we have a good balance and can be strong all weekend.
All right, Mike, we get a microphone right here.
Mike Hemric, USA Today. Really windy. How much does that matter?
I don't know. I mean, I always feel like you ask the guys who have 15 years or more experience, and they can feel a 2-mile-an-hour wind. But us young racers, I feel like the wind doesn't bother us as much. So I remember when that huge windstorm, dust storm, whatever, rolled through here a couple years ago. I couldn't really tell a difference in balance or what, but so I don't know. I'd like to say it doesn't matter, but maybe if I go out there and my car's struggling, I just blame it on the wind. But it seems like all the older guys can pinpoint the wind direction a lot more than us.
All right, Brett, did you have a question?
Brett McMillan with PRN. Next week at Phoenix, you got the new layout with the start-finish line in the middle of turns 1 and 2. How does that change things for you guys?
Did they already move it? Or is it
next week or is it?
Yeah, it'll be the November race. Yeah, so it'll be the same, I'm pretty sure, next week.
Okay.
So it won't be any different for me.
All right,
I'm excited for it.
Additional questions? Oh, go ahead.
Steve Richards with PRN. Kyle, you won from the pole at Fontana last time. Do you feel like you're dialed into that track, and if so, why?
I don't know. I think last year we were, for the point in this season, everybody's still working on their stuff, a good bit. But yeah, we were good, really good at Fontana last year. Was able to get the pole and lead the most laps, I think, and win the race. So, hopefully we can do that again this year and do it even more often than we did last year. But Fontana's always a fun racetrack, and I ran second there my first year, and then kind of struggled the next 2 or 3 years, whatever it was, and then finally won last year. So I think it just kind of matters with how good your car is.
Why do you think that the most of the teams will be dialed in after the West Coast swing?
I don't necessarily think dialed in, but everybody can kind of get an idea of who's going to be your top 10 cars kind of roughly throughout the next handful of months. It seems like last year, myself and the 78, after the West Coast swing, everybody pointed to us two as being the two best cars, and it kind of stayed that way the rest of the year. So I think that's where you can kind of get your idea of who's the best car, who's the best team, and or the best few teams. But I don't know. It's just Daytona, you don't get a good idea because it's super speedway. Then Atlanta, you get somewhat of an idea, but it's a little different because the track's so wore out and the driving style's different. The setups are a little different. And then you get to Vegas and Phoenix and Fontana tracks that have good grip and you can use your downforce. That's where you can figure out who's good.
All right. I believe Chris had a question up front.
ChrisKnightCatchfans.com. Kyle, I don't know if you Tony Brandiger. She's USAC's all-time winning driver female winning driver in USAC. She's gonna make her way to pavement and run some ARCA races this year. Are you familiar with her? Have you watched her race? And can you tell us anything about her if you do know her?
No, I don't know her. I did see some headline this morning that said she was running a few ARCA races. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's neat to see anybody come out of stuff that I grew up doing, USAC stuff. I want to say maybe she did like Ford Focus stuff. I don't think she's ever ran really many USAC national races. So I don't know. I've never raced with her, and I've ran some USAC stuff. But yeah, hopefully she can be good and get some more opportunities along the way.
All right. I believe Mike, did you have a second question?
Kyle, this car is so new, and there's so much you guys, I guess, don't really know about it. When you go out and practice and you're not at the speed that you want to be, how do you know where to go first with the car? Is there certain things that you attack first?
I don't know. That's a better question for the crew chief, but it's just a different body. It's the same chassis, same components, everything. So we have a nice notebook of stuff from when we had the SS. So far it hasn't driven any different to me, hasn't felt any different. All the visual stuff inside the cockpit, side windows, all that, it's the same. So, or, looks different on the outside, but it doesn't, nothing seems different yet for me. So I felt like Atlanta, I know we finished second there last year and finished ninth there last weekend, but I finished a few spots better than what I should have last year, and then finished a couple spots worse than I should have this year. I felt like maybe speed-wise we were 1 spot to 2 spots off of where we were last year at Atlanta. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll struggle at times with the new car, but it wouldn't be any different than what we struggle with the SS.
All right. We'll go up front and then back to Jeff. Go ahead.
Kyle, Rex Winterton from St. George News. Just wondering, as you go week to week to every different venue each week, is there anything that's superstitious to you? Do you you wear the same pair of socks every week, or anything that brings you good luck over something that does not?
I used to be really superstitious growing up, racing, and then once I got the stock cars, you kind of realize that a lot of it's out of your hands, so the superstition stuff kind of goes away some. But if I have a few good weeks in a row, that's when you can kind of get like a routine, that you did the week before when you ran good and you carry it over to the next week. But other than that, nothing crazy, no lucky socks or shirts or anything like I used to have.
All right. Go ahead, Jeff.
Kyle, can you explain how, I know you grew up doing this where your fast laps have to come right away, like in a heat race or in practice or whatever, and you've got to come out. You're saying you're in qualifying trim and you're going to be there, so I assume you'll be asked right away to come put down a fast lap. But if you haven't been out on the track in even a few weeks, how do you do that? Like, what's the process like where you're fast right away and you don't have to warm up or have practice or something?
It's tough. Typically, in my career, we always start in race trim. Which I like because you do get that rhythm, and you feel the track, feel your car, whatever, and then when you switch to qualifying trim, you already have an idea of like how far you can push it and all that. So, starting in qualifying trim, I always feel like when I've done that, your first lap is 80% maybe to its potential. You might underdrive the corner, overdrive the corner, turn in the corner too soon. You're not, and I wouldn't even think Jimmy Johnson, who does it all the time, starts qualifying trim. I'm sure his first run is a little off of what its potential could be. So, I would prefer if we had enough tires, I would obviously prefer to start in race trim just to get your rhythm. But with the allotment of tires, it seems better, or you can use your tires more wisely if you start in qualifying trim. For tomorrow's practices and stuff with happy hour, and have more sticker sets to work on your race setup. So that's why we're starting qualifying trim. But yeah, I mean it's difficult. You never nail your lap the first lap out. It's hard to commit, but it's nice that we tested here a month ago or whatever, and I have an idea of where I'm going to run, how much throttle input and stuff like that.
All right, we'll take our final question from Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Does this race increase importance because it's the first race of the playoffs when you come back, or is the weather going to be so different that no matter what you learn here, it's going to be it's just not going to relate to September?
No, I mean I think anytime you race at a track, whether it's cool or hot, it relates. So yeah, I mean there's definitely some added importance to this race with it being in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean hopefully we have a strong race, and if not, what you need to go back and work on to be better when you come back later in the year to benefit your playoff run. So yeah, I mean not that this race, when it was just a standalone event or one race, wasn't important, but anytime you can race at a track that you're going to come back at in the final 10, it's got some added importance to it.
All right, Kyle, thank you for your time this morning. We wish you the best of luck this weekend.
All right, we'll continue our availability with Las Vegas's own Kurt Busch, driver of the number 41 Haas Automation Ford. Kurt, obviously, big story is whenever you come to Las Vegas Motor Speedway is your homecoming, but you're coming off a top 10 finish at Atlanta, led 52 laps, so some strong momentum coming in. Maybe talk about how those two sort of intertwine.
Yeah, it's fun to always come back to Vegas and see family and friends and familiar surroundings. And just got to thank Jeff Motley again for an incredible job here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to see it. And it's new phase, it seems like, with the second date coming up in September. This race has more importance around it than it ever has before, just because of the playoff atmosphere that will be around the September race. So to have a triple header weekend now, a triple header weekend in September, this is big for Las Vegas and the motorsports community. So fun to come back and represent my hometown, and maybe this time we'll break through for a victory.
All right, questions for Kurt? Please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation. We'll start with Bob over here.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Does this race take on any added importance because you'll be back here for the playoffs?
Yeah, I feel like over the years, when you have a track that has the one date, that makes it significant because you only race there once a year and you want to get that trophy. But now realizing a track that just had one date, now it has two, it's that much more important because this one will be part of the playoffs when we come back. So a track like Michigan has two dates, and that's very important because it's the manufacturer's backyard. A track like Pocono is fun. It has two dates, but doesn't have a lot of good weather, so we race there back-to-back pretty quick. But any track that has a date early in the season and then is part of the playoffs later, it has that much more of an importance value to it just for the competition side. So places like Phoenix, Texas, Martinsville, Las Vegas fits into that category now as far as early in the season and very important later.
Mike Hemric, USA Today. Ford's really strong at Atlanta. I know the track there is really different, but does that mean you guys should be pretty good over these next few races, or is that track specific?
I was really surprised by the Ford's dominance, and my car felt great too. We were really good on the short run with the Monster Energy Ford, and hoping that plays out with our Haas Automation Ford this weekend. But like I said, the track surface is a little different. I always tell fans, media, sponsors alike that let's just look at the first 5 races as a core group. Once we're done with the West Coast swing, let's then evaluate what you see for trends. But Atlanta is somewhat similar to Fontana with Auto Club Speedway and how much the asphalt's worn out. And so that one we'll see. If we can back up what we did at Atlanta, we'll do it at Fontana. This one here, though, this 1.5 miles is very similar to Texas, Kansas, Charlotte, with the asphalt grip level and the tire that we're using. So with this being also a playoff race later in the year, this weekend is a great way to judge things once the checkered flag falls on Sunday night.
Reed?
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. So, you're talking about the surface and the tire. This surface hasn't degraded a whole lot since it was repaved in 2006. So Goodyear is trying to build some fall off into the tires this week. Is that something you're going to pay particular attention to?
Yeah, I hope that we're able to see those trends. We always want the drivers to have the chance or the option or the mistake, so to speak, to wear out the tires too quickly in a run. And my car last week, we were a little guilty of running too strong in the beginning of a run, and then we faded later in a run. And so then the time that I was conservative to the tires early in the run, I was just slower that whole run. I never made that time back up. So the tires aren't quite the same as we used to have. And the asphalt surface here is right in its prime. So I'm hopeful that the tire that Goodyear brought us balances out the long run speed versus the speed you can gain by coming in, pitting, and getting a set of fresh tires and charging up through there on a restart. I really hope that plays into how the race is won, instead of just putting on tires and filling it full of gas and running to the end and staying out later in the race. Biggest thing, though, is track time seems to be more and more limited, and we can't get those long runs in and double-check setup A versus setup B. Today, this is the first time, I think, in my whole career that I'm unloading in qualifying trim, and I only have 55 minutes to get that car dialed in for qualifying. Normally, we have an hour and a half. We can go through a few sets of tires and changes. This is going to be quick today. And then tomorrow we just have an hour session in the morning and then an hour session right around noontime. In Atlanta, we only had an hour and 20 minutes on Saturday for practice, just one practice. So things are changing quite a bit on the schedule, and that's making it more difficult to find those patterns within the tires.
Further questions? Right here.
Kurt Randy from NBC Las Vegas here. Talk about what it would mean for you to win a race here. How hungry are you to get a race here, get a checkered flag in Las Vegas? What would that mean to you?
It'd be huge. I put too much pressure on myself every year I come back, and I keep trying to come back and be looser and just let the race come to us. And so I hope that we're able to find that raw speed in the car that we need at the second half of the race. I've always been a good qualifier here. The team has always provided me great cars, and when you have a race so early in the season, a lot of the performance value at the end of the race comes from all the work you did in the off season. So I know we're as best prepared as we can be. Teammate won last week, so there should be no excuses on why the 41 car can't win here this weekend, and it would mean the world to me. I've won Daytona, I've won Charlotte, been close at the Southern 500. Vegas ranks up there in the top 5 for me.
And one more question, being part of Ultimate Sports Weekend, how has Las Vegas changed? NASCAR is here the same week with UFC, the Golden Knights, rugby. How have you seen things change around the hotels or just driving around Vegas this week on an Ultimate Sports Weekend in your hometown? It's incredible. Last year, I think we were here during the Pac-12 tournament and the Mountain West basketball tournament in the NCAA. The sports, I guess, dominance that we're experiencing here in Vegas is similar to the different trends we've seen with the hotels it was a family atmosphere back in the 90s, and then it seemed like it turned into the nightclub atmosphere.
Then it was the chefs. Every chef from around the world created a residency, and they had their type of marquee restaurant introduced to the hotels and casinos. And now we're going through a sports phase, and it's all brought to us by the Las Vegas Visitor and Convention Authority. They know how to get people to McCarran Airport, and this sports phase, I think, is huge. And I'm real proud of Las Vegas Motor Speedway for securing a second date, for Bruton Smith to acknowledge that Vegas is moving the needle for our sport. Not that New Hampshire wasn't. I mean, New Hampshire fans are great. The New Englanders love their racing. They love their football and baseball. But to the sports side of it, just think of this. If you're a New England Patriot fan and you're playing the Oakland Raiders, of course you're coming to Vegas to see your Patriots play at an away game, and you get all the extra fun things that go along with Vegas.
Dominic Aragona with the Racing Experts and ESPN Albuquerque. In 2018, you've led a bunch of laps. You lead the competition among stage points acquired across the first two races. Just talk about that means to you and your team so early this year.
Thank you for that. We had a big focus on stage points, especially stage one. That was my weakest area last year, and we hope to continue that trend to get points early in the race and to lead laps. Last year, I think, was my career low in laps led. Might have been with Truex leading all the laps. That was tough to break through and get those laps led from him. And so we knew we needed to work harder and to go stronger at the beginning of the races. So I hope that we're able to continue that trend. Stage two is still interesting to me because you can try to go for points in stage two, but then it puts you behind for the run to the finish. So we're still trying to sort through the best way to approach that mid portion of the race.
Any more questions for Kurt? Okay, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for your time, Kurt, and good luck this weekend.
Great. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Okay, we'll continue on with the very prompt Kevin Harvick, who was very strong last week in Atlanta, dominating that race for his first victory of 2018. Is a past winner here at Las Vegas as well, so riding high with both momentum and past success. And we talk about those two things come on this weekend.
Yeah, it's last year didn't go well with the blown tire, but the performance has been really good since I've come to SHR, getting to victory lane here. And then obviously last week was really the way that we've run in Atlanta the last 5 years. It's just we finally got to victory lane. So looking forward to the weekend, and hopefully we can continue the momentum.
Great. Questions for Ken? Start with Mike.
Hey, Mike Hemric, USA Today. Ford's really good last week, particularly yours, you just mentioned. Is that an indication you guys are going to be good over these next few races, or was that you think that was maybe some track specific?
I think it's a moving target at this particular point, just because of all the changes that we had last year. I think from last year to this year with the inspection process, the difference in the splitter rules, and just there's just a lot. There's no real rule changes other than the splitter, but everything is different just because of the way that the car is inspected. So I think everybody's still trying to get their arms around where they're at, and I think this weekend will be a pretty good indicator of where everybody stands and stacks up compared to from one manufacturer to another, from team to team, and all those things. So I know that Kyle Larson was really fast when they came out here and tested, and I think as we get done with this weekend, you'll see where you need to go to work and the things you need to work on for your typical mile-and-a-half program. I think Atlanta is just, it's way different than anywhere else that we go as far as the way that you drive the track and the way the car falls off. This track has a fair amount of drop-off, but it's still far different than what we raced last week.
Go to Bob, then Reed.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. You now have 99 wins across the 3 national series. Would getting 100, does that stat mean anything to drivers? Does it mean anything to you?
They kind of brought that to light last week. I hadn't really been keeping count, to tell you the truth, and obviously now, and it would definitely be pretty cool to get and break 100. I think that for me is it's just a reminder of that you've been here for a long time and you've been fortunate to have a fair amount of success and really all 3 series. So it's a fun stat, and I think obviously for me coming to Stewart-Haas Racing kind of I guess, re-energized me a little bit and re-enthused me about everything that was going on, and hopefully we can continue building on that. But it's definitely not a bad stat.
Yeah,
definitely something that's kind of fun to see.
I mean, I don't know whether Cup drivers say, well, I want to have like 10 Cup wins or 20 Cup wins, but do you look at it and say, man, it'd be cool to have a certain number of wins across all 3 series?
I think if you really look at that, it's probably, for me, I feel weird looking at that as a goal. Every year I think as you go and come to the racetrack, you want to be competitive, but you never know how the year's going to go. And about the time you think you're going to go out and win 4 or 5 races a year, you come back and it's a struggle to win any. And even if you're running good, it's hard to put these days together. So my goal is always to be competitive, race for wins, and you just never know how many are going to add up. But I'm also the guy that keeps all his trophies in a storage room because I'm embarrassed to put them out and feel like you're bragging if you have somebody walk in the front door at the office and see them all. So it's for me, the gratification that comes from winning races and being successful now is really about those guys on the team. I get more excited about seeing how happy they are and the people in the company. I love winning, but I also don't want to be. I feel like it's bragging if you have stuff out and about and showing off what you have.
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. Given that the temperature in September is likely to be quite a bit hotter than it is now, is this race going to be able to tell you anything about what you might expect for the playoff race?
Well, I think that the trends and track time and just the thought process of knowing that you're coming back here for a second time is definitely a good thing and definitely something that is relevant for us as we go through the weekend. But I think that the progression of the year is always so drastic. By the time we come back in September and you look at the downforce and the things that the car makes at that particular time compared to the beginning of the year, if you look at what we raced here last year compared to what we're going to race here today, that's all a progression of the year. So coming back here, I think that progression will still stand. You'll definitely do some things different, but every racetrack has its own trends and quirks about it that you want to have written down and notice. So it's definitely an important weekend to make sure you have a firm understanding of the direction of this particular racetrack, knowing that you're coming back for the playoffs. But obviously it'll be different when it's a ton warmer.
Go Chris and Jerry.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Kevin, is there a race in particular that you look most forward to on the West Coast swing? Obviously, you had the dominance at Phoenix over the years, but has it changed over, I don't know, the last year or so, or you still look forward to all 3 races?
To be brutally honest with you, I'm looking forward to going to race the K&N car more than any of them on next Thursday. Not because I don't enjoy what I do here, just because I've never raced at the Kern County Raceway in my hometown. I like coming to all three of these races because I get to see so many people and fans and friends but the race of the 3 weeks that we're out here, of the 4 that I'm going to race, is the one I'm looking forward to the most is the K&N race, just because of the fact that it's not something that I get to do all the time. But I don't know that, if I had to pick one out of the 3, I would pick California Speedway, just because I love the surface and I love the fact of how much the cars wear out the tires and slide around, and the multiple grooves and all the things that come with California Speedway. It's the Thursday before we go to California Speedway. Yeah.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net and PRN. Niter stole my question because I was going to ask about California, but that's okay. Can you talk about going to Phoenix and the changes that they're going to do there, whether or not they're implemented or not yet, but the overall, you've had such dominance at Phoenix, and you talk about what the advancements they're doing at the track.
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, I'm really looking forward to. That's really the biggest change. Aside from the restart zone will be very interesting from a driver's standpoint as far as the changes, because there's really, you're going to have half the fields restarting in the corner, and that'll be different and exciting, which is what we need. I mean, we need different, exciting things, and I love the stadium feel that they're creating in what will be turns 3 and 4 now before the start finish line, and the amount of money and time that has been spent, and the thought, that's not something that wasn't thought of. I mean, I think I saw the ideas 3 years ago of where the start finish line would be, and then the progression of the grandstands and everything that's come with it, has been fun to watch. So I'm excited for not only Phoenix, but for the fans and the experience that they have, and change is good. Change is enthusing, change is exciting, and I really experienced that myself when I came to Stewart Haas Racing, just in the excitement and enthusiasm that I had, and so it's fun to see these projects going and the differences that hopefully they make for the fan experience.
Any further questions for Kevin? Seeing. Kevin, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend. All right, we will continue our availability with hometown hero, Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Caramel Toyota. Kyle has a win here in 2009 in the Monster Energy Series and in 2016 in the Xfinity. This weekend, he'll be running all 3 races. Starting tonight, it's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. Does have some track time, the only one I think in here so far that does this weekend. Maybe talk about yesterday's practice and how the weekend looks.
It was pretty windy yesterday, and it's only going to get windier. So that's certainly kind of the topic of the day, I think, for many of us, and what the on-track conditions are going to be like. But other than that, pretty good to be here in Vegas, and good to have an opportunity to get back at the home track and run the triple here this weekend. We've talked about it for a long time, ever since the announcement last summer of the chances of coming out here and being able to run for 2 triple weekends in Las Vegas in 2018. I'm looking forward to being able to have the opportunity to run the first triple here this weekend, hopefully be able to go out there and get it accomplished, and set that to the side and get a good weekend for us and get some good notes built up for when we come back here for chase time.
Questions for Kyle, please raise your hand. Mike.
Mike Hemric, USA Today. Kyle, a lot's changed about Vegas since you left to go racing. National Hockey League team, Raiders coming to town. Do you, as a native, do you kind of see Vegas now as more of a big-time sports town with all that's happening?
I think it's definitely grown into that more and more over the years. When I was a kid here, I always kind of wondered why we didn't have a professional team of any kind, whether it would be hockey or basketball or baseball or football, but it's becoming more and more, which is good. There's a lot of stars in all kinds of sports that are coming from the town, with Harper, myself, and Kurt, some other younger up-and-coming drivers as well too, like Noah and such. So it's nice to have an opportunity to have that that place to be able to go play if you can make it to the hometown team and be a star in that series, that league.
Bob
Pockris, ESPN. You're going for your 50th truck win. I know you've talked about how if you get to 100 Xfinity wins, you'd probably stop. Is there a number at truck races or wins that you'd have where you'd stop running? And would 50, as far as just numerology, would you like to hit? Is there something about hitting 50 that would make it special?
No, there's nothing about hitting 50 that makes it special. 52 would be special. So as far as how many truck races would I continue to run or wins would I like to hit, no, because it's my own team, and I'd like to always get out there and have an opportunity to race with my own team. Everybody thinks I just like to go out there and pad my stats and everything else. It's not like that. It's entirely to work with the people and try to educate the people. We've got 2 new engineers on our team this year, and other new crew members and things like that, and so we try to work out the bugs with those guys. I feel like every year we go into the season with new guys, and I'm kind of regurgitating the same information sometimes. You have great leadership with the crew chiefs and stuff, but this is Hillman's first full season with us. Last year was Marcus's first full season with us, so it's hard for Rudy to be able to catch those guys up on exactly everything. And so when I'm there with the team meetings and stuff like that, we always go over stuff to make sure that we're a professional organization and we do our job and we hit all of our P's and Q's and I's and T's and everything else to make sure that we're going out there and doing a really good job as if it was a cup team. So that's what the professionalism of our team is trying to be.
We'll go Jeff, then John, Claire, and Jerry.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. After Atlanta, everybody said, oh, well, it wears the tires so much that it's different than a normal mile and a half. Now we're at a normal mile and a half. So will we know who's good for the season after this, or is it going to take longer to figure out who is good and who's struggling?
I think you'll have a sense of who's good, but I don't think it'll tell you everything you need to know. I mean, obviously, Truex was really good here, but he was good throughout the entire season. I think Larson was good here, Brad was good here, but they kind of tallied or fell off a little bit through mid part of the season. I didn't think we were that great here. We ran 6th or 7th all day last year, if memory serves me right, and then had a shot to finish 3rd or 4th and didn't, but we came on halfway through the season and really got hot there towards the end. So I don't think it's a huge telltale, but it'll obviously give you an idea of who's going to be tough, I'd say, up through Charlotte, up through May.
John Leslie with Fox Sports. Kyle, now that you guys have had time to look over that final pit stop in Atlanta in the trucks and discuss what happened, what is your take on now what played out there?
It's been played out already, man. I came down pit road. The guy struggled on the right front. I was so focused on the right front, I never heard the guy hit the left rear lugs. I don't think Marcus did either. So when the jack was dropped on the right side, he said, go, 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 and that was going to be my thought anyways. And when he said, go, 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 that gave me clarification that the left rear didn't get hit. And so I took off. And then he said, stop, 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 or whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was in the middle of pit road, and there were going to be guys exiting their pits on my left and guys rolling on my right, so I couldn't stop exactly right there. I didn't know how many lugs were on there at all, so I asked the question, how many are on there? And is it none? And he go, yes, none. And so that's when I came to a stop. So it takes that amount of time and that amount of distance to figure all that sort of stuff out. There's a lot going on and a lot of things that kind of happen through your mind. And so, it sucks. It was frustrating. The jackman couldn't hang the right front tire. They took too much time over there and messed up the pit stop and cost us the race.
Claire?
Claire Beelang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Can you talk about the wind and how it might affect qualifying? It's supposed to get worse tomorrow. You're racing 3 different series this weekend, and it's usually windy here, but this is some really strong wind.
Yeah, this is really strong wind. Last year I remember the wind being really, really bad in the race, and you kind of used it to your advantage a little bit in some portions of the racetrack, but in others it was a mess. It was a handful. It blows the cars around. You're going at 200 miles an hour, and just a 40-mile-an-hour gust of wind is a big mile-an-hour change, and it just blows the cars around, and it changes the trajectory of where you're going. And we're going in a circle, so we're hitting the wind in different directions every single moment on the racetrack. So, you just never know where that gust is going to be, if the wind changes directions or if a gust changes directions, and it's just very, very complicated to keep up with. So it makes you have to be on your toes, and I think the Cup cars will be the worst because they have the least amount of downforce and they go the fastest. So the Xfinity cars would be second worst and the trucks would be third, just because trucks you can run around here wide open and they punch a pretty big hole in the air already.
Can you adapt to it as a driver, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you can adapt to it. I think more times than not you're guessing anyways. So it's just a matter of being ready for anything and just kind of driving through it.
Jerry, then follow from Bob, and then we'll go over here.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. You've got 3 wins at California. We're going to close out this West Coast swing out there. Can you talk about going out to California and that track? And it's been compared some to Atlanta. But what are your thoughts going out there and racing and wiping out this West Coast?
I love California. I enjoy going out there. I always thought it was really, really fun to race out there, especially you can run all over that racetrack, low, middle, high. More times than not, the high line kind of becomes a preferred groove throughout the day of the race and throughout the long runs of the race, and so that was kind of enjoyable. With this new car, with the flared sides and stuff that we've had the last 4 or 5 years, it's kind of made that outside groove less important, so you have a little bit better chance of being able to move around, but not much. Just seems for me, anytime I get closer to the wall, I seem to get looser. And if you tighten up the car in order to be able to handle that situation, then you're just so tight you can't run the bottom at all. So you really get mired to having to run the top all day. So that's what makes Larson so good there. That's what makes us pretty good there. Harvick was really, really good there for years, So it's a place that is worn out. It's like Atlanta. Atlanta, people have figured out how to line wrap and make the line really work, Harvick especially. haven't seen anybody really be able to make that work at California. We just keep going farther under the yellow line in turn 3 and 4 and running the apron. So it's now 6 lanes wide down there in 3 and 4. But it's just a fun track and bumpy and edgy and. I don't think the surface is as abrasive as Atlanta, but it certainly lends itself that way, and it hopefully isn't up for due for a repave anytime soon.
Bob and then NBC.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. I'm sticking on a numerology kick. If Harvick wins again in any series, he's at 100 for all 3 series. Do you look at that as any sort of standard?
He's at what?
He's at 99 career wins over
for all 3.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So there'd be assuming he wins one more, then there's 4 of you with 100 wins across all 3 series.
Okay.
Is that any sort of standard, or do you look at that in any particular way?
This day and age is different than the old day and age. People will have that argument forever. I don't think there is a comparison to that. I think for what Harvick and myself have been able to do with the amount of wins that we have in all 3 series is cool. I think you reach 100. That's a big number to reach in this sport, in this and how difficult it is to win races these days, whether it's Cup, Xfinity, or Truck. You look at it last week and it seems to be easy, and you have a pit stop problem and you don't win. So Harvick has. I think he's got just like 3 or 4 or 5 less Cup wins or something like that than me, and he's a few behind on the Xfinity side. Over the course of the last few years, we've been really good at racking them up over there, and the truck side too. But he's obviously reaching that 100 mark, and I think that should be something to be proud of. So I know I'm focused on me and being able to continue my climb and getting to the next wins that I can for me.
We'll take a couple more. Go over here.
Kyle, Randy Howe, NBC Las Vegas. Welcome back. What would it mean? It's Ultimate Sports Weekend here. What would it mean to you to take a couple checkered flags home this weekend in your hometown? It'd really be fitting, with you being from here, to get some checkered flags this weekend. And also, do you feel like when other drivers know it's your hometown, like for the big race on Sunday, do you feel like they would try to do anything to make sure you or Kurt don't take a checkered flag home in your hometown?
It would certainly be special to win here. I'd love coming out to Las Vegas. You want to win any weekend, but especially when it's in your hometown and you remember this track being built from the ground up and the hole being dug in which we're sitting in right now. So I haven't run a Truck Series race here since 2001, I believe it was, and so I would love to be able to have that opportunity to come out here and win in just my second start on this speedway in the trucks, and of course win Xfinity and win Cup. I've been close to a lot of Xfinity wins here, and I've only been able to close out one. And Cup wins, we haven't quite been as great. I've just never been on the newer surface. On the old surface, I'd finish second or third every single time we came here, But it would certainly be special to close it out and to win a triple in your hometown. That would be pretty awesome. As far as anybody else knowing that it's our hometown, I don't think they care. I think that we all race each other as hard as we can race each other every single week anyways, no matter where we go. And guys are always chomping at the bit in order to see themselves get to victory lane. So that's going to be their main reason and trying to keep you out of victory lane.
Kyle, Alan Michaels from On Pit Road Racing here in Las Vegas. How much pressure and how much does your body go through running all 3 events this weekend? Preparation for it and everything.
Yeah, it's been a tough it's going to be a tough 10 days. I ran the Truck Series race. We had practice on Friday in Atlanta. Then I ran the Truck Series race on Saturday. Ran the Cup Series race Sunday. I had a test session on Monday and Tuesday. I didn't have anything on Wednesday. Thursday, yesterday, I was in the truck. Today's all the practices, truck race. Tomorrow, Xfinity race. Sunday, Cup race. So there's been one day in the last 10 days that I'll be out of the vehicle, So that's kind of hard on you. At least I'm getting it all out of the way early in the season when your body's a little bit fresher. But certainly you got to take care of it. And so, this week would be nice to kind of chill out and relax a little bit and, take it easy. But you eat good and try to get some workouts in when you can. Not too hard. Obviously, you got to let your body recuperate and stuff like that. So that's kind of what my strategy is.
We'll take one final one over here.
Jason Summerall, Trackside Experience. Quick question for you, Kyle. Now, yesterday we watched you out here practicing with Noah, and you guys were hooked up pretty good. And coming out of 4, it seemed like he was getting higher and higher coming out. Were you intentionally trying to teach him how to exit that turn a little better, or was there anything to that? Anything deeper?
No, nothing to that. Just, we were working together trying to see what our trucks would run single truck speed, and then in a draft of a couple, just him and I, and then we had some bigger packs as well too. There was 5, 6, 7 of us at one point. Just kind of figuring out the handling of all that with the wind blowing and the wind changing directions. It could have been a little bit of that. I was working on my truck, making sure that I was keeping my wrap around the corner longer, lower, and they were kind of working on that as well too. They got it kind of tuned up the second practice. They got a lot better with it. So found some adjustments that helped that. So hopefully it works for us in the race tonight.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kyle. Good luck
All right,
in all
right on.
three this
Thanks.
weekend.
All right. We are now going to roll into our NASCAR Xfinity Series media availability here, and we have been joined by Christopher Bell, Spencer Gallagher, and Daniel Hemric. And Christopher does have to run to the rookie meeting here pretty quickly, so we're going to go ahead, and if you have a question for Christopher, please raise your hand. We're going to try to get those in quickly and go ahead and let him get out of here so that he is on time for that rookie meeting, and that is not my fault if he is late. So does anyone have a question specifically for Christopher? All right.
Good talk.
How many clubs
Go
have you
ahead.
tried to get into so far?
They're going to get off
Chris,
super easy today.
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. Chris, are you happy with the way that your season's progressing? I know Daytona didn't start off well, but you guys showed some speed at Atlanta. And how do you feel approach the West Coast swing?
Yeah, I think our season has started off great. We were able to, get a jump on it by testing at Atlanta in January, and that was really important for myself and my crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe. Jason obviously has a lot of experience in the Xfinity Series, but it hasn't been in recent years. So we were able to go there and work together. He was able to kind of listen to me on the radio, listen to my feedback, get a feel for how I talk and how I describe the race car. He was able to work on the car and kind of get a feel of what changes do what, and kind of get his Xfinity feet about him again. So that was great. And then we kind of skipped over Daytona and went straight to Atlanta, and it was really fast. So far it's been good, and yeah.
All right.
Not yet. That's for lunch today.
Any additional questions for Christopher? Okay, go ahead.
Jason Summerall, Trackside Experience. So I've been asking a lot of truck people this question about simulator racing. I know you guys get on the track and have fun with that iRacing and all. How much do you think it really helps you out on the track in the big picture?
Well, for myself, I'm a big believer in iRacing. It's I do it quite a bit, and it's first off, it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't give you any feel, obviously, because it's all visuals. But whenever you go to places that you haven't been to in a while, like Las Vegas, the last time we were here was last year, you have the visuals of what turn 1 looks like, what turn 3 looks like, and you're still getting put in race situations. So that's, I think that's very beneficial. You're still racing, but you don't have any feel. So the visualizations are really good, and then as well as just staying in the seat, staying racing, you're still racing.
All right. Any final questions for Christopher? Okay. We'll go ahead and let you scoot out, and we'll continue with Spencer and Daniel. And Daniel, we'll start with you. Obviously, Vegas will kick off the official NASCAR Goes West campaign. So talk a little bit about, do you look forward to that? Will you stay out during, the West Coast swing to do some fun things and kind of what it means to kind of, really have 3 weeks out here on the West Coast?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always really cool. In the past, when I've kicked off the NASCAR Goes West, part of the season, but obviously it's a little different this year with South Point Hotel and Casino being on board full time with us and with RCR, and it's just been a different feel this time. I never thought I'd feel so at home in Las Vegas, and the Gone family's made it more than that, and they've really taken care of myself and all of our team. So just had a really good time with it. Got here yesterday, got to spend a lot of time with the fans. We did some autograph sessions at South Point, and just enjoying it. It's definitely a different atmosphere, to say the least, but it's cool to kick it off like we do here in Vegas and start our progression towards Phoenix and towards Fontana. I will stay out here the whole time, play a little bit of golf, some beautiful golf courses, and not sure how much fun that is in 50-mile-an-hour wind like we have right now, but can't hurt my game, so to say. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and we just really enjoy coming out here, but definitely a different feel this go-around.
All right. And Spencer, obviously, always nice to come back to Las Vegas for you. Talk a little bit about just having the opportunity to race here this weekend, and then obviously knowing that you guys will come back again in September.
It's a great opportunity. You know, I'll be one of the first people to tell you that I was jumping for joy the moment I heard that we were going to have 2 race weekends a year. I mean, you know, 2 opportunities to come home and play for a hometown crowd during the year. That's something you can't beat out, and that's something very few drivers get to do, I think. So obviously that made me super happy. I came home here straight after Atlanta, got myself acclimated to the 3-hour changeover. That's a tough one going from east to west. That screws with you. But no, it's been great. I've been running around town, you know, seeing the old friends, finding the old haunts. Had a lovely birthday dinner with the girlfriend last night down at the Cosmopolitan. So I'm back to living my best Las Vegas life, and I just missed it so much.
Should have took her to Michael's Steakhouse at the South Point.
You know, I've heard good things about that. Not that you'd be biased.
I did last night. It was incredible.
It's not half bad.
And Spencer, do you have anything special or unique planned over the NASCAR Goes West campaign over the next couple weeks?
You know, we're going to be all over the place between going from here to Phoenix to Fontana. I know for this weekend after the Xfinity race, I'm actually going to be jumping straight into a car and driving 5 more hours down to L.A. We're taking my girlfriend out to L.A. for her birthday weekend. We're going to take her to Disneyland and have a great old time. So we're going to have a bunch of special stuff planned. I think we got some pretty cool things going on out at ISM Raceway. Phoenix, you'll be seeing a bunch of me out there. And then, of course, Fontana. Who doesn't love going out to L.A., seeing the sights, you know, surf, sun, and that beautiful, beautiful racetrack. So it's 3 weeks full of excitement. You know, I wish we could stay out here the whole year, but I'll take the 3 weeks we get.
All right, we'll take questions for Daniel or Spencer. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. Okay, we'll go to Mike.
Mike Hemric, USA Today. Spencer, a lot's changed in Vegas last few years sports-wise with the hockey team and the Raiders coming soon. Do you, as a native, do you see Vegas now as a much bigger sports capital for those reasons, or not?
Absolutely. You know, I was remarking to my dad just yesterday. It really kind of blows my mind that, you know, you grow up in this town for 20 odd years, hoping and wishing and waiting for any kind of sports team, and then all of a sudden we get the Golden Knights and the floodgates just open. Now we're going to have the Raiders. We're going to have the Lights and having an MLS team. We got the Rugby Sevens team. We're going to have the Aces and a women's basketball team. I mean, man, oh, man. I don't know who opened the floodgates, but thank you very much. So, you know, we went from going our whole lives having to pick other sports teams to cheer for to now we've got, you know, a bevy of options to pick from. So that's a big deal for me as a Las Vegas, and I think it really cements our reputation as a town for everyone to come to and see great events, both, you know, sporting and entertainment. And I think it's a great thing for the city.
All right, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, nightcatchfence.com, one for Spencer, one for Daniel. Spencer, can you talk about your relationship with Chad Norris? How has that evolved in the couple races that you guys have worked? Do you feel good coming in the West Coast Swing working with him? And then I'll follow up with Daniel.
Absolutely. You know, we picked up Chad at the end of last year, and he's been a real help all the way around. He's fantastic with the crew. I really personally enjoy him as a crew chief. Our relationship has been coming along very nicely. You know, we've only got 2 races under our belt now, but already I can tell that we're in tune, we're in sync. You know, I talk to him about what the car needs. You go out the next run, and bam, it's better every time. So that's all you can ask for as a driver, and that lets me be my best self and go out there and give the team everything they need to help make the car faster and help produce results. So, you know, I can't compliment him and the rest of the GMS guys enough on the effort that they've put into these cars and making them so great.
And Daniel, we've seen RCR go from 5 Xfinity teams to 3 Xfinity Series teams, and it seems like that's elevated the performance with a pole and then a 6th place qualifying effort at Atlanta, and then you guys ran good, 11th place finish. Are you guys starting to see the positives from that?
You know, in all honesty, Chris, I feel like that's to be seen. You know, anytime you go from that amount of people, that amount of race cars having to get built on a weekly basis to the amount that I won't say we've reduced to, but the quality that we've been able to reduce to, it allows us to put a lot more effort, emphasis into the small details that hopefully will get us in a direction. And I think going to Daytona and then having a qualifying solid effort like we did at Atlanta, all that stuff is a little bit, you know, of a remark of what everybody's putting into the program. But coming out here, this will be one of the most throttle-on places we carry. Your front-end geometry, all your components, parts and pieces of the race car, the way it feels, all that stuff is a direct sign of how your program is. So when you leave Las Vegas, you know if you've either got to start setting that panic mode in to make big changes in a hurry, or if you know you're in pretty good shape as the rest of the season is going to continue to build. Because anytime you start kind of, I guess, a one step behind in this business. You can't implement the new stuff until months and months down the road, and it's a tough task. And now having 3 cars, I think it's going to allow us to shorten that curve up if we have to implement anything. But so much work has gone in the off season and collaboration between all the drivers at RCR, all the crew chiefs, engineers, to try to figure out where have we been off? Why couldn't we perform like we wanted to in the past? So this will be a huge weekend for us as a whole, just for the drivers, for the feel of what we want, if we have what we need for one, and what needs to happen moving forward. So no matter how it all shakes out, we have the people, the personnel, we have all the equipment that RC's given us, and all the tools to operate at a high level. But to be able to do that with 3 cars and make changes if you need to, that's going to be huge for us. But hopefully this weekend is the true testament to where we're at.
All right, additional questions for Spencer or Daniel? All right. Thank you guys for coming in, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.